The mysterious disappearance. The sun rose as usual over the bustling cities of Earth. People went about their daily routines, unaware of the strange events that would soon unfold. It was a normal day, or at least it seemed that way. The world was at peace, and life went on without interruption. But something was about to change, something no one could have predicted. It started small. People began disappearing. At first, it was just a few individuals. A mother's son, a father's daughter, a neighbor. No one knew where they went or why they vanished. The authorities were baffled. No signs of struggle, no evidence left behind. Just empty spaces where people used to be. It was as if they had disappeared into thin air. As the days passed, the disappearances grew more frequent. Families became desperate. They searched their homes, their neighborhoods, and even the streets, calling out for their loved ones. But there was no answer. As news spread, panic began to grow. The government issued statements, but they had no answers to give. The authorities insisted they were investigating, but they offered no solutions. Then something strange happened. The missing people weren't just from one country or one part of the world. They were from every corner of Earth. Young and old, rich and poor, from every race and culture, all gone without a trace. It wasn't a natural disaster, and it wasn't a mass kidnapping. It didn't make sense, and as the disappearances continued, the world grew more afraid. But amidst all the chaos, there were whispers. Whispers that spoke of something bigger, something beyond Earth. Some claimed that aliens were responsible for the disappearances, that human beings were being taken by an advanced alien race. The idea seemed far-fetched to many, but it was impossible to ignore. For the first time in history, humanity was united by fear. The world's leaders met, and soon, every country's top scientists and military personnel were called to discuss what had been happening. One of the brightest minds on Earth, Dr. Elena Martinez, was brought in to help solve the mystery. She had spent her career studying the unknown, space, the universe, and the possibility of extraterrestrial life. She had always been skeptical of alien theories, dismissing them as fantasy. But now, faced with the evidence of mass disappearances and the possibility of an alien involvement, her skepticism began to fade. Dr. Martinez sat in a room full of world leaders and experts, her mind racing with questions. Could it be true? Could humans really be disappearing at the hands of an alien force? She didn't know, but she felt deep down that something wasn't right. She could sense the presence of something larger than Earth itself, something pulling the strings behind the scenes. But what was it? Days turned into weeks, and the world's situation worsened. With each passing day, more people vanished, leaving behind empty homes and unanswered questions. Society was beginning to unravel. People were afraid to leave their homes, unsure whether they too would vanish in the night. The world became a place of uncertainty, where no one knew who would be next. Then, in the midst of the global panic, a strange event occurred. The signal, faint but unmistakable, was picked up by Earth's most advanced satellite. It was a message, one that wasn't of human origin. The signal was unlike anything humans had ever encountered. It was not a random piece of static or interference. It was purposeful. Someone, or something, was trying to communicate. The message was cryptic. It didn't offer any answers, but it did confirm one thing. There was an outside force involved. The message spoke of a secret project and a greater purpose, but it didn't reveal the true nature of the empire behind it. The words echoed in Dr. Martinez's mind, and she couldn't shake the feeling that the message held the key to everything. Whoever sent it knew more than they were letting on, and whoever, or whatever, was behind the disappearances was playing a dangerous game. Dr. Martinez immediately began working with a team of experts to decode the message. The words seemed to hint at something much larger than they had anticipated. The Galactic Empire. The mention of this empire felt like a story out of a science fiction novel, but the urgency of the situation made it impossible to ignore. The leaders of Earth were in shock. The idea that an advanced alien empire might be involved in the disappearances of humans was almost too much to bear. But the message was clear. The fate of humanity was tied to a much bigger conflict, one that was far beyond Earth's understanding. What was this empire? And what did they want with humanity? Meanwhile, in the hidden corners of Earth, a different kind of fear was growing. There were rumors of people vanishing in silence. No message left behind, no sign of struggle. Just gone. And even more chilling were the reports that some of the missing people had been seen alive, but not as they once were. The rumors spoke of people returning, changed, as if they had been altered in some way. Dr. Martinez knew that the key to solving this mystery lay not only in the message but in understanding the true nature of this empire. Who were they? What did they want with Earth? And why were they so interested in humans? As the days passed, one thing became clear. The empire was watching. And they weren't just taking humans for experimentation. They had a bigger, more terrifying plan in mind. But what that plan was, no one knew yet. The disappearance of humanity had only just begun, and the truth was much darker than anyone could have imagined. Dr. Martinez and the leaders of Earth were about to discover that the galaxy was far more dangerous than they had ever thought, and the Empire's secret would soon be unveiled. Hook for the next part. The message contained a warning and a promise. Someone inside the Empire wanted to help, but who could they trust, and what did it mean for the fate of Earth? The mystery was only deepening, unraveling the Empire's web. The days that followed the cryptic message were filled with uncertainty. Across the globe, people huddled in their homes, afraid of what was happening to their loved ones and to their world. Nations that once stood divided now shared one common fear. Something was out there, something that had already begun to take humanity without explanation. But the message, the strange transmission from beyond the stars, had planted a seed of hope and fear in equal measure. Who was behind it? And more importantly, why? Dr. Elena Martinez had not slept in days. The decoded message, though partially understood, only raised more questions. What was the greater purpose mentioned in the transmission? And what was this secret project they spoke of? The scientist knew that whatever this empire was, it was not interested in taking humans for scientific study or exploration. It was something darker, something far more sinister. With the help of an international team of experts, she pored over the transmission, trying to decipher any hidden meaning. The message had a strange quality, as if it was a warning and a plea for help at the same time. The Empire watches from the shadows, it had said. The human spirit is a threat to our existence, but we are not the true enemy. The phrase that stuck in Dr. Martinez's mind was, "We are not the true enemy." Who could be the true enemy? What was the Empire protecting? And why was humanity considered a threat? Earth's top military commanders met to discuss their next course of action, but their hands were tied. They had no way to communicate with this alien empire, no way to defend against something so advanced. The technology on Earth could barely keep up with the alien ships that hovered silently in the atmosphere. Earth's last resort was to communicate back, but what could they say? What would they do with the limited knowledge they had? The first breakthrough came unexpectedly. As Dr. Martinez was studying the transmission once more, her assistant, Ivan, noticed something odd. Buried within the chaos of the alien language was a pattern, an anomaly in the code. It was like a beacon, a small but deliberate flaw, hidden among the transmissions. Could it be a signal for help, or a trap? Dr. Martinez didn't hesitate. She ordered the team to isolate the beacon and amplify the signal. A quiet hum filled the room. And then, finally, another message appeared. It was a warning, but this time, it was clear. We cannot stop them. They are coming for your world, and they will take what they need. The Empire had spoken again, but this time, it was different. This message was direct. It was from someone within the Empire itself, a defecting member, perhaps, or someone who had grown tired of their master's ways. But why would they send such a dangerous message, and why warn Earth? The stakes were higher than ever, and yet the world had no idea how to defend itself. Word of this new communication spread quickly. Earth's leaders were divided. Some saw the message as a chance to prepare for the coming storm, while others believed it could be a trick, an elaborate ploy to get them to act rashly. Still, the message carried weight. It wasn't just an empty warning. It was a call for action. Dr. Martinez was the first to act. She knew that whatever this empire was, it wasn't just a random alien race looking to conquer Earth. There was something personal about their interest in humanity. She remembered the words in the first transmission. The human spirit is a threat to our existence. There was something in humans that this empire feared, and it wasn't just our physical strength. It was our ingenuity, our ability to overcome impossible odds. Could it be that the empire had underestimated humanity's will to survive? Determined to find answers, Dr. Martinez reached out to the best minds on Earth. Military leaders, hackers, scientists, and even those who had worked in deep space programs. Together, they began to uncover a disturbing truth. The Empire had been watching Earth for centuries, monitoring human progress in secret. They had observed humanity's rise from primitive tribes to global superpowers, and now they feared what humanity could become if allowed to reach its full potential. The Empire had hidden itself from Earth for so long, but now that humans were beginning to venture into space, the time had come for them to act. But why now? What had changed? And why had they decided to start abducting humans? The answers were still elusive, but one thing was clear. The Empire was not the only force in the galaxy. There were others who had observed Earth as well, and others who might help humanity fight back. But would Earth be ready? Could humanity rally against this seemingly unstoppable power? The sudden appearance of a strange, cloaked ship in Earth's orbit gave them a glimmer of hope. It was an alien craft, but this one didn't match the ships of the Empire. It was smaller, sleeker, and far more advanced than anything Earth had ever seen. Could it be another faction? Another race that wanted to help humanity? Or was it a trap? Dr. Martinez and a select team were tasked with making contact with this new ship. As they approached the ship's landing zone, they saw a figure emerge from the shadows, an alien, but one unlike any they had ever seen. This one had a human-like form, though their features were sharp, almost angular, their skin pale and shimmering. The figure raised a hand in a peaceful gesture, and with a voice that resonated in their minds, it spoke. I am not your enemy. The Empire is your true enemy, and it will destroy you if given the chance. The message was clear. Whoever this being was, they were an ally, but their reasons for helping Earth were still unclear. What could this strange alien have to gain by helping humanity? Dr. Martinez knew that the answers they were seeking were just beginning to unfold. The pieces of the puzzle were scattered across the stars, and now Earth had a chance to find them. But there was a catch. To defeat the Empire, they would have to be willing to confront their darkest secrets and face an enemy unlike any they had ever imagined. Look for the next part. The figure promised more answers, but only if Earth could prove they were ready. What dangers would they face on the path to uncovering the Empire's darkest secret? And would humanity survive the trials ahead? The hidden truths. The figure, who had emerged from the shadows in a quiet yet determined manner, stood before Dr. Martinez and her team. His appearance was almost human, though his skin shimmered like polished silver, and his eyes glowed with a strange, internal light that seemed to flicker with every movement. There was an air of ancient wisdom about him, but also a deep sadness. You are not ready, the figure spoke again, his voice echoing inside their minds. The Empire will destroy everything you hold dear unless you learn what they truly fear. Dr. Martinez didn't hesitate. What is it that they fear? She asked, her voice trembling with both curiosity and dread. The alien was their only chance at learning what lay behind the Empire's seemingly endless power. He glanced at her, then turned his gaze toward the horizon, as if lost in thought. After a long silence, he spoke once more. They fear humanity's potential, he began, his voice soft, but filled with an undeniable weight. It is not your technology or your physical strength that threatens them. It is your creativity, your ability to adapt and overcome. The Empire was built on control, on order and predictability. But humans thrive on chaos, on the unexpected. You have something they cannot control. The team absorbed his words in stunned silence. Dr. Martinez's mind raced. Could it be true? Was humanity's greatest strength its unpredictability? But why did that make the Empire fear them so much? Why had they decided to abduct humans? And what was this greater purpose that the alien had hinted at? The alien, who had introduced himself as Aaron, looked back at them. His eyes seemed to penetrate their very souls. You must understand, he said, the Empire's power comes from its ability to suppress creativity, to control every aspect of its inhabitants' lives. Their entire society is built on structure, logic, and an iron grip on knowledge. But the human spirit is not bound by such rules. You can think beyond the confines of the Empire's control. And that is why they fear you. Dr. Martinez stepped forward, unable to contain her questions any longer. But why are they abducting humans? Why do they need us? What are they trying to achieve? Iran's expression darkened. The Empire is in crisis. It was built on the strength of one unifying idea, order above all. But now, something within their ranks is crumbling. They have discovered that they cannot remain in control of a universe that is constantly changing, and so they are seeking a solution, something that can restore their power. He paused, taking a deep breath. They have begun using humans in an experiment to harness the very creativity they fear. They are seeking to force human ingenuity into their rigid systems, to weaponize it for their own purposes. But they are failing. The humans they capture are no longer the same once they enter the Empire's laboratories. Their minds are warped, their spirits broken. They become tools of the Empire's will. A chill ran down Dr. Martinez's spine. The thought of humans being transformed into mere puppets for the Empire's control was unbearable. But what could they do to stop it? How could they fight back when they knew so little about their enemy? There is a way, Aaron continued, sensing her growing desperation. But it requires courage and trust. You cannot win this battle with conventional weapons. Your strength lies in your ability to think differently, to resist the Empire's rules. You must find the key to their weakness, a secret buried deep within their history. It is only by understanding what the Empire has hidden that you will have the power to stop them. The words were cryptic, but Dr. Martinez understood one thing. This was no longer just a battle for survival. It was a battle for the soul of humanity. And the Empire was not the only enemy they faced. There were darker forces at play, forces that sought to strip away the very things that made humans who they were: resilience, creativity, the ability to adapt and grow. The next step was clear. The team would need to find this hidden secret, this key to the Empire's true nature. They needed to uncover the truth behind the Empire's origins, to understand what drove them to become what they were. And they needed to do it quickly, before the Empire found a way to crush humanity once and for all. As the sun began to set on the distant horizon, Dr. Martinez turned to her team. "We have no choice," she said. "We must trust Aaron. We have to follow this path, no matter where it leads." But there was something else she didn't say, something deep within her heart that filled her with both hope and fear. She had begun to realize that the battle they were about to fight would not only determine humanity's fate, it would shape the future of the entire galaxy. The first clue had been revealed, and with it, a new sense of purpose. But it was only the beginning. The path ahead would be treacherous, filled with enemies, deceit, and sacrifices, and time was running out. Look for the next part. As the team delves deeper into the Empire's secrets, they uncover a hidden power that could turn the tide of the war, if they can survive long enough to use it. But every step brings them closer to an unimaginable truth, one that could tear humanity apart. The secrets unveiled. The winds howled through the cracked windows of the hidden base, echoing the disarray inside. Dr. Martins and her team gathered around a holographic table, where a map of the Empire's vast territories glowed dimly. The shadows of their faces reflected the weight of the knowledge they had just uncovered. They had found the first clue, the fragment of an ancient artifact, partially intact, hidden deep within the heart of the Empire's most secretive research facility. The artifact was unlike anything they had ever seen, covered in strange symbols that seemed to shift when observed. It wasn't just technology. It was something more profound, ancient even, something the Empire had been trying to unlock for centuries, but failed to fully comprehend. These symbols, they're not just alien, Dr. Martins murmured. They're human. The realization hit her with the force of 1,000 suns. Humans, in some distant time, had known something the Empire desperately needed. The key to everything. The power to break free from the Empire's chains was buried in the past. As she reached out to touch the holographic map, her hand trembled. The pieces were falling together, but they were still so far apart. There were still too many questions. Why would the Empire fear something human? Whispered Sergeant Cruz, his voice barely audible in the cold, tense air. I mean, what do we have that they don't already control? Aaron, who had joined them in the shadows, spoke up. His silver skin shimmered in the low light, his eyes glowing faintly. They fear your connection to something older, something more powerful than their rigid technology. They fear your history, your roots. Long ago, the human race was scattered across the stars. You were the first to learn to adapt, to grow, to shape your surroundings. That creativity, that instinct to survive no matter the odds, that is what makes you dangerous. Dr. Martinez's mind raced. The first human colonies had been lost to history, forgotten in the chaos of war. What was Aaron talking about? How could humanity's scattered history be the key to defeating the Empire now? Aaron stepped forward, his voice dropping to a whisper, as though afraid to speak the truth aloud. The Empire is not the true enemy, he said, his words laced with urgency. They are simply the puppet masters, controlled by something older, far more dangerous, a force that predates them, that has been manipulating the galaxy for millennia. The silence in the room was deafening. The very air seemed to freeze around them. Dr. Martinez stared at him, waiting for him to explain, but he remained cryptic. The Empire was built by the ones who conquered your ancestors, Aaron continued, his voice low but firm. And they built it to suppress humanity's greatest gift, the ability to imagine, to create, to change the future. They feared that, if allowed to flourish, your species would shatter their perfect, controlled reality. He looked up at the team, his eyes glowing brighter. The artifact you found, it holds the secret to breaking their control. But it's incomplete. You need to find the rest, scattered across the galaxy, hidden in ancient human sites. The Empire is searching for it too, and they are closer than you think. You must move quickly. A sudden shudder ran through the base, and the holographic map flickered. The Empire was aware of their search, and it was only a matter of time before they would strike. Dr. Martinez clenched her fists. How do we find these hidden human sites? We don't even know where to start. Aaron's gaze softened for a moment. You have one advantage. They think you are weak. They believe you are nothing more than a relic of a lost era. But your true strength lies in your history. You have always been connected to the stars, to the unknown. The clues are hidden in the old stories, in the myths your ancestors once told. You need to think like they did. Look beyond the present and into the past. Only then will you understand what the Empire fears. A shiver ran through the room. The stakes had never been higher. They were not just fighting for survival. They were fighting for the future of the entire galaxy. The Empire was hunting them, yes, but it was the hidden force behind the Empire that would truly determine the fate of every sentient being in the galaxy. Dr. Martinez's mind whirled. The team had uncovered a dark secret, but there was so much more to discover. They now knew that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't technology or firepower. It was their ability to adapt, to think beyond the limits of the Empire's oppressive rule. And if they could unlock the secrets buried in their past, humanity would have the power to overthrow the Empire once and for all. "We're not alone in this," Dr. Martinez finally said, determination in her voice. "There's more to this story, and we'll find it, no matter what it takes." Aaron nodded, his face unreadable. "Then let us begin. Time is running out." As the team prepared for their next move, they felt the weight of the galaxy upon them. The Empire's influence stretched far and wide, but their strength had always been limited by their inability to understand humanity's true nature. Now, it was up to Dr. Martinez and her team to uncover the lost chapters of their history, to find the forgotten corners of the galaxy where the Empire had never dared to tread. And deep within those ancient ruins, the secret to defeating the Empire lay waiting. If only they could find it in time. Hook for the next part. As they race against time to unearth the hidden history of humanity, the team uncovers a shocking discovery, something the Empire had been trying to erase for centuries. But will they be able to unlock its power before the Empire finds them? The race for the galaxy's future has just begun. The hidden past. The galaxy was vast, vast enough to hide secrets, even from those who had the means to search every corner. Dr. Martinez and her team sat in the war room, the holographic map illuminating their faces as they studied the next location. A lost human colony known only by its legend. It was located on a planet named Alien, deep within the uncharted regions of space. The Empire had never ventured there, and for good reason. It was a place where the laws of the galaxy did not apply, and the artifact they had found seemed to point toward it. Dr. Martinez's mind raced as she stared at the map. The more she learned about the Empire's history, the more she realized how little they truly understood about their own origins. The Empire had come into power through fear, control, and the suppression of anything that could threaten their absolute rule. But what if they were wrong? What if the past, the forgotten history of humanity, could be the key to undoing everything they had built? "We need to get to Alien," she said, determination in her voice. "The artifact we found is just a piece of the puzzle. We have to find the rest of it before the Empire does." The rest of the team nodded in agreement. The stakes had never been higher. As they prepared to leave the safety of the base, the tension in the air was palpable. The Empire was closing in on them, and time was running out. But there was something else, something that gnawed at Dr. Martinez's thoughts. Aaron had said the artifact was part of a larger power, a hidden history. What did that power entail? And why had the Empire gone to such lengths to hide it? Aaron stood by the door, his eyes distant. "The secrets you seek are more dangerous than you realize," he warned, his voice grave. "What you uncover on Ilion may change everything you think you know about your own species. It is not just the Empire you must face. It is the truth of your origins." Dr. Martinez glanced at him, her heart pounding. She knew what he meant. If the Empire had erased this history for centuries, there had to be something about it that could shift the balance of power. And if the truth was as dangerous as Aaron suggested, the team might not be ready for what lay ahead. But there was no turning back now. The journey to Alien was fraught with danger. They traveled through abandoned star systems, ancient ruins, and forgotten anomalies, places where no ships had ventured for centuries. The farther they went from the known worlds, the more the universe seemed to shift, as if hiding its true face. There was a sense that they were walking into something far older than even the Empire itself. As they approached the planet, their ship encountered strange gravitational anomalies. The atmosphere around Alien was thick with electromagnetic storms, and the sensors began to glitch as if the planet itself was rejecting their presence. But there, amidst the chaos of the storms, was a towering structure, a monument to something ancient, something lost. The landing was rough. The ship rocked violently as they descended, but they managed to make it safely to the surface. The planet was desolate, its once vibrant cities reduced to rubble. But the ruins were not just old. They were different. There was a strange energy here, a pulse that seemed to come from deep within the ground. The team disembarked cautiously, weapons drawn, as they ventured into the ruins. Every step they took felt like they were being watched, and the air was thick with a sense of foreboding. As they walked through the long-abandoned streets, Dr. Martinez couldn't shake the feeling that something was just beyond their reach, something that had been waiting for them. They finally reached the heart of the ancient city. It was a massive pyramid-like structure, its surface etched with strange, glowing symbols. The symbols matched the ones on the artifact they had found. The closer they got, the stronger the energy became. It felt like the entire planet was alive, resonating with a power that had been dormant for eons. "Is this it?" Sergeant Cruz whispered, his eyes wide with awe. Dr. Martinez nodded, her breath catching in her throat. "This is where it all began. The key to defeating the Empire is buried here, and we need to find it before they do." As they entered the pyramid, they were met with the remnants of an ancient civilization. Inside, the walls were adorned with intricate murals depicting a time when humanity had spread across the stars. The images were haunting. Humans with advanced technology, building civilizations, but also facing the wrath of an unseen enemy. In the center of the pyramid stood a stone pedestal, and upon it lay a glowing crystal, one that pulsed with the same energy as the artifact they had found. Dr. Martinez stepped forward, her hand trembling as she reached for the crystal. The moment her fingers made contact, a rush of images flooded her mind. Visions of a lost age, of humanity's rise to power, and its eventual fall at the hands of an ancient force. She saw the first humans who had traveled across the stars, their civilization destroyed by the very same empire that now ruled the galaxy. But there was more. She saw something darker, something that had been hidden for centuries. The crystal was not just a key, it was a weapon of unimaginable power, capable of unlocking the potential of the human race in ways no one could comprehend. Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath their feet. The Empire had found them. Iran's voice rang out in their minds. "You must leave now. The Empire is here." Dr. Martinez's heart raced. The Empire was closing in, but they now had the power to fight back. The crystal would be their weapon, but they had to escape before they could learn how to wield it. The team made a desperate dash back to the ship, the ruins crumbling behind them as the Empire's forces descended upon them. As they took off, the sky above Elion erupted in flames, and the ground trembled as the planet seemed to fight back against its invaders. Hook for the next part. With the crystal in their possession, Dr. Martinez and her team must now unlock its power to fight the Empire. But as they journey back to the heart of the galaxy, they discover that the weapon is far more dangerous than they ever imagined. And its true purpose is something no one could have predicted. This part intensifies the mystery and danger, bringing the team closer to uncovering humanity's ancient history and the power that could help them defeat the Empire. It also raises the stakes by introducing a time crunch, with the Empire closing in on them. The idea of the crystal being a weapon of unimaginable power adds an intriguing twist to the plot, ensuring that the audience remains on the edge of their seats. The awakening power. The flight back to their hidden base was silent, the crew lost in their thoughts, each one digesting the weight of what they had just uncovered on Ilion. The crystal, now secured in a protective case, sat in the center of their table, glowing faintly. It pulsed in rhythm with the ship's engines, as though it was alive, aware of its new surroundings. Dr. Martinez sat with her hands clasped tightly in her lap, her mind racing. The crystal had shown them pieces of a long-forgotten history, an ancient power that had been lost to time. But what did it mean? And more importantly, how would they use it to defeat the Empire? Iran's warning still echoed in her mind. The secrets you uncover may change everything you think you know about humanity. She knew the stakes had never been higher. The Empire was relentless, and now they knew the full extent of their enemy's power. But they also had something the Empire didn't: the knowledge of their own origins and the potential to harness the very power that had once made humanity unstoppable. "I need to study this," Dr. Martins muttered, more to herself than to the rest of the crew. "We need to understand how to use this crystal. It's our only shot." Her words hung in the air as the team made their way back to the hidden research lab beneath their base. The place was a quiet, forgotten corner of the galaxy, a relic of the old human resistance. It was the only place safe enough to explore what they had found without the Empire discovering them. But even here, within the shadows of their sanctuary, the pressure was suffocating. The Empire knew they were on the trail, and every passing minute brought them closer to their discovery. The lab was old, an artifact of the human resistance before the Empire rose to power. It was built to withstand the harshest of conditions, a place where the last remnants of humanity's fight for freedom had been recorded. Dr. Martinez sat at a console, the crystal now resting before her. She needed answers. The rest of the team set about securing the lab, ensuring no one could find them in the meantime. "I've heard rumors," Sergeant Cruz said, breaking the silence as he leaned against a nearby table. "Whispers of a power, something ancient and powerful, that could tip the scales in our favor. But no one's ever been able to confirm it." Dr. Martinez glanced up, her eyes sharp. "The Empire doesn't want us to find out, Cruz. And they certainly don't want us to unlock whatever is hidden inside this crystal." Her fingers hovered over the holographic interface. The map of the galaxy was still spread out before her, but now it was more than just a chart of star systems. It was a trail, a puzzle with pieces that were starting to fall into place. The crystal, the ancient ruins, Elion, it all pointed toward one thing: humanity's lost legacy. She activated the crystal's core interface. A faint hum filled the air, and the blue light that emanated from the crystal grew stronger. Slowly, it began to project an image of a city, one that stretched beyond the limits of imagination. It was a city of shining metal, with massive structures that seemed to touch the stars. But there was something odd about the image. The city was not modern. No, it was ancient. And the people who lived there, they looked like humans, but with features so different that they almost seemed alien. Dr. Martinez watched in awe as the image zoomed in, revealing the people's eyes. They were filled with a glowing energy, as though they were in tune with something far beyond human comprehension. There was a deep connection between these humans and the power that coursed through the crystal, something that went beyond technology. It was as though they had unlocked the secrets of the universe itself. A voice echoed through the lab, soft but commanding, as if it were coming from the crystal itself. "This power is not for mortals." The team froze, their eyes widening. The voice was unmistakable, human, but at the same time, not. It was a voice that carried weight, as though it had lived through countless generations, seeing the rise and fall of empires. Dr. Martinez's heart pounded. What does it mean? Before anyone could respond, the crystal's light flickered. A new image appeared, this one darker, filled with destruction. The city, humanity's last great civilization, was crumbling. The glowing figures fell to their knees, their power being torn from them. And in the background, shadows moved, watching, waiting. A shadowy figure in the image raised their hand. It was impossible to make out the details, but the sense of malevolence was undeniable. Whoever, or whatever, they had destroyed this civilization. The voice spoke again, this time with a warning. The Empire is not the only enemy. The true power lies hidden, waiting for those who are worthy. Dr. Martinez felt her breath catch in her throat. Worthy? The voice answered, its tone growing more distant. To unlock the full potential of the crystal, you must first understand the truth of your origins. Only then will you be able to wield its power against those who seek to control the galaxy. The image vanished. The light from the crystal dimmed. The lab was silent. Did you hear that? Sergeant Cruz asked, his voice shaking. Dr. Martinez slowly stood up, We're not just facing the Empire, Cruz. We're facing something far older, something that has been hidden for centuries, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. The crystal was not just a weapon. It was a key to humanity's forgotten legacy and the power that had once made them rulers of the stars. But unlocking that power came with a price. The enemy wasn't just the Empire. It was something far more dangerous, a force that had the potential to unravel everything they knew about the galaxy. As the team prepared to uncover the truth behind the crystal, they knew one thing for sure. They were not just fighting for their survival. They were fighting for the survival of an ancient power, one that could either save them or destroy them all. Look for the next part. With the truth of humanity's origins now in their hands, Dr. Martinez and her team must face the ancient enemy that has been waiting in the shadows. But will they be able to control the power of the crystal, or will it consume them all? The final revelation. The tension in the lab was suffocating. Dr. Martinez stood in front of the crystal, the faint pulse of its light casting eerie shadows on the walls. The voice had warned them. Only those worthy could unlock its true power. But what did that mean? And who, in this dark galaxy, was worthy? The team could feel the weight of the unknown pressing down on them, as if the universe itself were watching, waiting for them to make their next move. "We need to figure out what worthy means," Dr. Martinez said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. "The crystal is waiting for something we haven't found yet." Sergeant Cruz stepped forward, his boots clicking softly on the cold floor. "Do you think the Empire knows about this? About what we've uncovered?" Dr. Martinez didn't look up. "I don't know, but I'm sure they'll find out soon enough, if they already haven't." The words hung in the air, heavy with fear. If the Empire knew what they had stumbled upon, there was no telling how far they would go to seize it. The crystal was a relic, an artifact of unimaginable power, one that could tip the balance of the galaxy. In the wrong hands, it could bring about the end of everything humanity had fought for. For a moment, there was silence, broken only by the hum of the ship's engines. The team looked at each other, each one trying to figure out what to do next. But none of them had an answer. They had no idea how to use the crystal, no idea what worthy meant, and no idea what awaited them once they unlocked its secrets. The unknown stretched out before them, dark and foreboding. Then, without warning, the crystal's light flared brightly. A pulse of energy shot out from it, cascading through the room like a shockwave. The team recoiled instinctively, hands reaching out to steady themselves. But the pulse wasn't physical. It was mental, an overwhelming wave of emotions, memories, and images that flooded their minds all at once. Dr. Martinez stumbled backward, clutching her head as the visions overtook her. In the chaos, one image stood out, the same city from the projection earlier, but this time it was different. The people of the city weren't glowing anymore. Instead, they were fading, their bodies deteriorating, as if the power that had once sustained them was being drained away. In the distance, the shadowy figure reappeared. This time, there was no mistaking it. It was a human, but one unlike any she had ever seen. The figure's face was shrouded in darkness, but its eyes were filled with a burning, hollow rage. Suddenly, Dr. Martinez understood. The city hadn't fallen because of external forces. It had fallen because the people themselves had lost control of the very power they had unlocked. The power had consumed them. It had turned them into something less than human. They had sought to become gods, but in the process, they had lost everything that made them human. The voice echoed again, this time clearer, more insistent. "You must understand. The power is not a gift. It is a burden. You seek to control it, but in doing so, you risk losing yourselves." Dr. Martinez's breath caught in her throat. "What happened to them?" she whispered, the words escaping before she could stop them. The voice replied, its tone dark and foreboding. "They were not ready. They sought to conquer the stars, to control the universe, and in their arrogance, they sealed their fate. Her mind reeled with the implications. The people of the ancient city had tried to harness the crystal's power, but instead of mastering it, they had been consumed by it. Their downfall had been their own desire for control, their hubris, and now the same power was in their hands. Cruz gripped the edge of a table, his knuckles white. "So, this isn't just about defeating the Empire, is it?" he said. "It's about surviving the power that comes with it." Dr. Martinez's gaze shifted to the crystal. The answers they were searching for were right in front of them, but they were not simple answers. The crystal wasn't just a weapon. It was a test, a challenge. To wield it, they would have to prove themselves worthy. But how? And what would they lose in the process? "We have to make a choice," Dr. Martinez said, her voice filled with resolve. "We can use the crystal to fight the Empire, but we risk becoming like those who came before us, or we can destroy it and hope that humanity survives without it." The room fell into a tense silence as the crew exchanged uncertain glances. The choice seemed impossible, but they knew one thing for certain. They couldn't do this alone. They would have to rely on each other, on their humanity, to guide them through the darkness. The crystal pulsed once again, brighter this time, as if it were responding to their resolve. In that moment, Dr. Martinez made her decision. "We don't need to conquer the galaxy," she said, her voice firm. "We just need to survive it. We'll use the crystal, but we'll do it on our terms. Not to dominate, but to protect. To ensure that humanity's legacy doesn't fade into the dark." Cruz nodded, his face hardening with determination. "Let's make sure we're ready then. Whatever happens next, we face it together." The crystal's glow seemed to dim for a moment, but then it flared up again, as if it had recognized their decision. The voice, once ominous, now held a note of approval. "You are worthy," it said softly. Dr. Martinez turned to the team, her expression resolute. "Let's begin." Hook for the next part. With their resolve set, Dr. Martinez and her team prepare to harness the crystal's power. But as they unlock its secrets, they realize that the Empire may be the least of their worries. An ancient enemy, one far more dangerous, is watching, waiting for the moment to strike.